bloating, we know that it's one of the key symptoms. Almost 96% of the IBS patient, up to 96% of the patient, they do complain of an bloating, either with a constipation or in other area. It is one of the key symptoms along with a pain, and most often it suggests that the diagnosis as IBS. Bloating, it goes with the diagnosis of an IBS. In fact, the bloating is no longer a component of a functional dyspepsia that is with a Rome 3 criteria. The pathophysiological basis is complex and multifactorial, and of course it is one of the difficult problems to tackle. This is the Rome 3 criteria for an IBS. As we know, it doesn't mention about an bloating. It takes into other abdominal pain as a predominant, and discomfort, which is not it is not an bloating, it doesn't mention. But the Asian consensus, which was held in 2010, the first statement is that IBS is a condition characterized by abdominal pain and the bloating and other discomfort occurring in association with a disturbed bowel pattern in the absence of an organic causes that can be detected by routine medical tests. That means this Asian consensus, the guidelines, they say that bloating is an important symptom, and it can be associated with a IBS-C or an IBS-D or an IBS-M. Of course, there is an unsubtyped IBS. But in coming to the management part of it, any symptom you take it with an IBS patient, we should take into consideration all patient, not as a symptom. So the first and foremost important thing is that a physician should develop a positive patient relationship, which has a therapeutic benefit. It is one of the key or an impact factor. And of course, the pharmacotherapy is predominantly targeted towards the predominant symptom. Here it is the graduated approach, multiple like the patient who has a mild symptoms and the patient who has a moderate symptoms or a severe symptoms. Yes, initial or the one who has a mild symptoms can be managed with a diet modification and a reassurance and educating about the disease, etc. Of course, in a later stages, probably we can go on to a pharmacotherapy and multidisciplinary approach. Yeah, first step in combating or treating constipation along with the bloating is that adjust the diet. I think already some of the discussion has been done, and of course, along with it, we have to treat the constipation, as we know that the fiber definitely it can cause a bloating. That's why when I used to start with a fiber with a low quantities and titrate to the particular patient requirement so that bloating is avoided. That is one of the key factor we need to take into consideration when we treat the patient with a constipation and bloating. Of course, in the second step, we can go on to the probiotics and the non-absorbable antibiotics and tricyclic antidepressants and SSRI. The fiber supplementation, it is the insoluble fiber like a bran, etc. They do aggravate the symptoms, but the psyllium, that is the isabgolast, is the preferred one. It doesn't have a side effect, or the symptomatic relief is much, and it doesn't have much bloating in given in a titrated quantity. Of course, it can be the smallest amount, which can vary from 2.5 to 30 grams per day. And of course, as Dr. Ghoshal was telling, yes, many of the patients do complain of this, some of the sensitivities or aggravation of symptoms to the food types, and of course, gluten-free diet, particularly those with a positive serology and HLA-DQ, probably they may benefit from giving a gluten-free diet. Of course, as far as the lactose intolerance is concerned, probably we need to avoid milk and milk-related products. Of course, the fructose also is like many of the foods in a day-to-day we take, they do have this component, they do aggravate the symptoms. Probably modification is required totally. That's exclusion of these diets in the diet is not a recommendation which is given by ACG. Combating or tackling these symptoms, these are all the options. Antibiotics is the one which has given, that is the rifaximin has given a lot of symptomatic relief along with probiotics.